Hey all, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our hands-on review of the Tenergy Python Onyx. This is a quadcopter slash selfie drone that features a 2 megapixel sensor for taking images and videos, and it can also automatically hover at a specific elevation. It should be pretty easy to fly for first-time users as well, and also can be used for doing some simple tricks. It has a 6-axis accelerometer, and it's priced at under $40, which makes it very inexpensive. One of the reasons why it hits a lower cost is because this is one of the few selfie drones and quadcopters I've seen with a camera that doesn't have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth built in. So you use the built-in remote control to take images, which is actually an interesting proposition because Wi-Fi typically drains the power pretty quickly, and that means this thing can fly for a few minutes longer, but you can't control it using your phone. It comes with this built-in remote, as you can see there. It takes 2 AAA batteries, has a few different propellers and guards that come included, and it can record up to 720p HD video, and it can be controlled in a few different ways that I'll show you later on as part of the demonstration. So in the packaging here, we have access to the drone itself. The drone does not come assembled with the guards. The guards you have to put on by yourself, and there's small screws that you would want to insert. It adds some extra protection, and because it's round in the shape, if it hits a wall, it distributes the weight a little bit better in terms of physics, and so it prevents it from getting damaged, and you can fly indoors with more of a peace of mind. Very similar size to the DB Power Hawkeye drone that we reviewed a few years back, so it's still relatively compact, about the same size as something like a DJI Spark. You can see this one is folded up. This is one of the replicas, but about the same size. And if you fold out the propellers, you can tell that, again, about the same size when you stack it on top. So definitely not a large sized drone. And we also have access to the instruction manual, which I would actually recommend flipping through even if you've flown other drones, just because you have to control the camera also with the built-in remote, which is something that I don't think many users will be familiar with. And there's also the screwdriver in addition to the extra propellers and the charging cable for the battery. Taking a closer look at the design of the drone, it's made primarily out of ABS polycarbonate plastic, and there's also some legs that gives it some extra height, so if it drops, it doesn't land directly on the circuits and damage it. There's also access to the camera on the front. As you can see here, it does not have a motor, so you have to adjust the lens a little bit using your hands before it takes off, and afterwards hover it to about your eye level for the optimal selfie or video of yourself. The guards are a little bit flimsy, so make sure they're screwed on all the way, and sometimes you have to bend it a little bit just to prevent the propellers from hitting it on the sides the first time, because they are compressed in the box. But afterwards it gives overall a fairly premium look, definitely more than the price would suggest. There is what looks like a little arm for an optional antenna, but obviously this one does not have again Wi-Fi built in, so that antenna is not attached to the back of the drone. There's also lights on the sides, so it will illuminate in the dark, so you can see it a little bit easier and locate it. The remote control is fairly small, but the pads for the joystick are coated in a thick layer of rubber, making it slightly more comfortable on your thumbs as you're flying it and using it. It comes in a few different modes. You can also change the trim if it's slightly miscalibrated the first time, so it flies more to the left or more to the right. There's a dedicated power switch down below here, an LED light which will flash for a few times, and additional shoulder keys for controlling some of the selfies as well as tricks that you would want to perform. And inside we have the 2 AAA batteries. Overall, very small remote, but also fairly comfortable and easy to use. I've turned the drone on just by tapping on the power key, and there's a micro SD card located on the edge that supports up to 32 gigs for recording videos and images. So you can see the flashing lights. That means we can now pair it or bind it with the remote. Simply flick the remote on and then press up and press down on the throttles, and the flashing will stop. That means it's now been successfully paired. From here, I can start the engine by tapping on the right shoulder key, so that begins the engine. Tapping on it again will stop the engines. When the engine is started, I can tap on this to make it go higher, and tap on lower by pressing the joystick down, and this is just for controlling the directions. The left shoulder key is for taking an image, or I can hold on it to begin recording a short video clip. Before starting the flying test, I'll mention the battery takes 45 minutes to charge and will last roughly 7 to 8 minutes on a single flight. A quick look at some sample shots taken with the drone, you can tell that the image quality definitely isn't outstanding, especially indoors in darker environments. It struggles a lot more. The biggest downside is the lens isn't wide angle, so you have to stand pretty far away to capture an object. It has a pretty narrow field of view, so I was standing roughly actually 4 to 5 feet away from this flower and this vase, but you can see it only captured a small edge. I guess because you don't really have a viewfinder to tell what you're exactly framing in the shot, it definitely works better, outdoors for landscapes, things like that. If you want smaller objects with more precision, then that is one downside to not having, again, that Wi-Fi module to connect a smartphone. However, colors for the most part do look fairly accurate, and you do have some detail to play around with, and as a whole it's passable for a smaller, again, 2 megapixel sensor. So if we also take a look at some of the videos I captured, pretty similar. It doesn't have, again, image stabilization, so it's going to be a little bit jumpy, but you can tell that it records these short 5 to 10 second clips without too many issues. So that's the Tenergy Python Onyx, a surprisingly easy to fly quadcopter even for beginners like myself. I found the remote control to be quite sensitive, and I like the fact that the drone is actually fairly durable in terms of its construction. It's also small and portable. However, it isn't quite as small as something like a DJI Spark, and if you are willing to cash out a little bit more, you can probably find drones with better image quality, just because this one does not have optical image stabilization. But for images, it actually works surprisingly well for capturing stills. It's really fun to fly, and I found that the omission of Wi-Fi really wasn't a huge deal at all, just because oftentimes controlling drones with smartphones, at least for beginners, is more problematic, just because the calibration, the connection seems to be a little bit more finicky. On the remote, it's actually more calibrated. The price is fair, and I think that it's a nice competitor to other low-cost drones that you can find on the market. You can check out more details soon, but for now, this is our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.